Welcome back. Ensuring food security for the Bahamas is probably more critical than it's ever been. Joining us now is the Minister for Agriculture and Marine Resources, the Honorable Michael Pintard. Good afternoon, Minister Pintard.
It's good to be here with you.
It's good to have you. We've had some specialists, agricultural specialists, say that the Bahamas has at least 4 months of food readily available at this point. How do you feel about that?
All of the conversations the Prime Minister or myself have had with wholesalers and retailers indicate that for the short to medium term, over the course of the next several months, we are safe in terms of a regular flow in the food supply chain. And so we'll continue to monitor that. Having said that, it is extremely important for Bahamians to know that even if we would have the ability for the long term to still source foods from overseas, it is not in our national interest to continue to do that. We are importing approximately $600 million worth of food, and I'm talking about fruits, vegetables, as well as proteins such as poultry, eggs, and pork. What is also true is that we are importing a fair amount of ornamental plants as well. And when you begin to add processed foods to that mix, that number, that 600 million, increases. So for the sake of national food sovereignty and food security, it is important that we grow and we produce those items that we can produce consistently at a world-class level, and of course in the quantities and price point that makes sense. And of course, food security is not just about the amount, but it's about the right type of food. So it's in our national interest to produce more.
So this should really push us to do something that we've been pledging to do ever since independence.
That is correct. And so it is important that Bahamians in a number of ways join us as we attempt to create really an agriculture and marine resources revolution. We have so many talented producers in the country who need concrete assistance to upgrade their facilities, their agriculture practices, so that they can be a part of producing more of what we consume. And Julian, what we have done essentially in conjunction with the IDP, in conjunction with the Food and Agriculture Organization, as well as working with the Organization of American States Agriculture Arm, AICA, and the CARICOM Agriculture Arm, CARI, we have conducted a number of important studies and missions. And so we have very clear data on what are the things we can produce competitively. And so we have identified, for example, the top 25 fruits, vegetables, as well as poultry and pork, or proteins that we can produce competitively. So for Bahamians who are interested in investing in the sector, for those who are interested in upscaling their farm, for those that are interested in backyard farming, we can identify those areas where opportunities exist.
And Minister, what can we see good yields from fairly quickly?
Well, there are the number of crops. If you permit me, I can certainly put up a chart for your listeners, so that they are able to see right away those items that we can produce. And so, Julie, I believe you can see the chart on the screen. Lettuce, for example, is our number one item in terms of ranking. And of course, tomatoes. We produce tomatoes very effectively in the Bahamas to the extent that we have excess. That's really the fifth item. Onions we produce in tremendous abundance, and you would see from the table the amount we spend overseas every year, roughly around $3.5 million, and that is really the number two item. And so mushrooms, broccoli, celery, all of these are items that we produce very well. In terms of fruit, oranges, our number one producer. There was a time we used to export limes, which again is something Bahamians grow very well. Bananas, productions have increased tremendously. But despite the amount of bananas, the amount of tomatoes that we produce every year, we are still a net importer. We are consuming 90% of items from overseas, and the truth is we have the ability to produce more and more of them. So I'll leave you with this chart. You can see the top 25 items, those that are interested in investing in the sector can target. Things like lettuce, cut flowers that we are bringing in large numbers. Small ruminants like sheep, mushrooms, orange, limes, bananas, pork, tomatoes, eggs. All of these are items that we should be producing. Grapefruit, strawberries, avocados, plantains, onions, broccolis, berries. So we have a marvelous opportunity against the backdrop of this pandemic.
Great. Now, hey, Minister, can you talk a little bit about our fisheries industry as well, and what things we can bring up? How are we going to focus on that a little bit more in these COVID-19 times?
Well, again, first of all, agricultural workers all along the value and supply chain and fishers all along the value chain ought to be declared essential workers, and it is my hope that it will make that announcement. Fisheries provides us in the food sector with the largest export that we presently have, and of course, that particular item would be the spiny lobster. So the truth is, our fishers are indispensable to food security. We must have them. And so it is our goal to see subsistence fishers continue to fish even during these lockdown periods, and to also see commercial fishers out on the water on a regular basis. It is in our collective interest to have the fish markets restored, as long as there are proper sanitary conditions, proper hygiene, and of course, medical advice that govern how the fish is captured, cleaned, packaged, and sold to the public. So the fishing sector is extremely important. We get the right protein from it, and of course, it generates employment for many of our young people.
Now, Minister, you're also responsible for regattas in the country. And of course, the National Family Island Regatta should be underway now, but we know why it isn't. And lots of economic loss as well as sort of emotional loss, if you will.
Oh, without question. Again, sailing in general, regatta or sloop sailing in particular, is a part of our national, not only is it, in my view, the most dominant national sport, but it is a cultural phenomenon that unites the Bahamas. You have these athletes who galvanize whole communities from the north to the south of the Bahamas. You have some 37 or so adult regattas, and of course, a similar number for young sailing enthusiasts as well. So this is a huge blow to us financially, and this is precisely why all of those communities that would have benefited from sloop sailing and regatta, they are also fishing communities, they're also agriculture communities. Long Island is a leader in many ways in both of those areas, and so we're sad at this juncture.
Well, Minister, what else would you like to say to the Bahamian people at this time?
Again, it's important that while you're spending time home, let's get started with home gardens, vacant properties in your neighborhood. You can start a communal garden with your neighbors by clearing them down and putting them under cultivation. And for entrepreneurs that are interested in entering the sector, there are ample opportunities for revenue generation. And I'm encouraging Bahamians in general to buy Bahamian, support the 242. And for the regatta community, we are going to be back stronger than ever. I know Stefan is chopping at the bits to come back and dominate our regatta. So it's really been a pleasure here. Please stay safe, wash your hands, observe social distancing. And Marco City, we are continuing our distribution with respect to the needs that you have. Please reach out to us. Please remain safe. We miss you and love you.
Be safe to you too, Minister. That is the Honorable Michael Pintard, Minister for Agriculture and Marine Resources. We're going to have more for you after this.